Well, hello, everybody, and hello, Chad. How was your week this week, Chad?
It's been weird. It's been a weird week. I get a lot done in the office, which is great, but I've also had to head over to intake several times this week, which is not so great. So that's the week in a nutshell.
Yeah. For those that don't know, Chad wears many hats.
Yep.
So all of which are highly beneficial to our community, but at the same time, probably have some low spots.
Yep. Very much so.
Sometimes you got to write articles that you really don't want to write, like we talked about last week.
Right.
Sometimes you got to deal with youth that are in a troubled state, and that really probably kicks you down sometimes. I'm sure that sometimes it's for the better, right? And you know that you're helping this person get through that next phase. And then sometimes you probably just shake your head and go, man, that's just tough.
It is tough.
Tough.
The tough one that I had they were all tough, but the toughest that happened this week, I'm fond of saying that the truth is stranger than fiction. You can't make some of these things up. And that's kind of that's the situation I was in yesterday. You cannot make this up. Things just fell the way they fell. So, before noon yesterday, I was working 2 different intakes for 2 different kids, and one of those kids, because of statements that were made, I said, you got to go to the emergency room. Okay? That's the only resource we have for these kids in this situation. So this kid's going to the emergency room. He's going for a mental health screening. He's going to be in that ER for 4 hours, 5 hours. Officers are going to be with him for 4 hours, 5 hours. And then when that screening is completed, we can then take him to a placement, the next place that he's supposed to go.
Yeah.
But in order to get there, that's, and don't get me wrong, I have a great love of NMC Health.
They're rock stars.
I have always had a great love for NMC Health. I wrote in an email to Val Gleason within the last few months that the support that I have, it is steadfast, it is long term, it's never going away.
Yeah. So
I have great love for them, but that ER as it is right now is not the place for a youth that is in mental health crisis. Yeah. That's not the place for them.
Chad, we could go on this one.
The place for them, quite honestly, just opened, but they don't take juveniles.
See, and this goes, okay, yes, I'm with you. I was going to say, love NMC, love Val Gleason. I see that entity as doing one that does everything they can to service all of the needs of anybody that's brought to them. But this goes to a deeper issue. And the deeper issue, and I've said it, about on every program over the last month, it seems like, it's like society needs to change their perspective. Government needs to change their perspective and the way they handle it. But, people that are, we are just coming around to this idea and this knowledge that we really need to service the needs of people that are in mental health crisis. Prairie View, great thing just happened there. Groundbreaking. We've got everything going for us there, but we're just now dealing with that. That doesn't change the fact that, even then, at Southwest Wichita, they're looking at doing some kind of a mental health facility there. I went to the legislative update and they talked a little bit about that this last Saturday. But things, I don't want to say things are going to get worse before they get better, because I think they've already gotten to the point where, we have nowhere but up to go from here. But then going to like Prairie View, like what you're talking about, even though there's that facility, there's no facility for youth. So then,
correct.
Is there, and I don't mean to throw you under the bus here, but is there really any place that we have now predetermined or anybody's actually had thought or any plan of action to deal with youth? Because look, man, kids make bad decisions. I was a kid and I made some poor decisions. I made some really poor decisions, and children make poor decisions, and I mean, I think we have turned the corner on saying that, hey, there are a lot of cases in which a youth makes a poor decision. It doesn't need to cost them the rest of their life, and they don't need to be treated like an adult. That wasn't the case in my situation, right? But I think we've changed over the last 25 years. It's just, is there anything, Chad?
Right.
I mean, what do you do in your capacity? What do you do?
Right now, there's not much in the way of resources available to, and I'm speaking specifically to, the intake system, right? I mean, I don't have places to, when it truly is a mental health issue, and I had 2 cases this week that were mental health issues. One was a mental health issue before they ever walked in the door. One became a mental health issue after. The good news is that when Prairie View opened up their BUCC, and for the lack of a better way to help people understand what that facility is, that facility is really kind of a mental health emergency room.
Yeah.
Okay? When you are in a crisis and you need immediate care, this is not the situation where you can just call and make an appointment for tomorrow.
Yeah.
Or a week from now. We've got to have something now. Okay? That's what they opened. And it opened on April 1st.
Yeah.
And I was able to ask the CEO on that day, you guys thinking about doing this for juveniles? And the answer I got was, well, we're evaluating it. Well, can we be honest? If there's not going to be funding available,
that's right.
It's not going to happen.
It comes back to the money. It comes back to the money.
I mean, seriously, people got to feed their kids. All right. These are the people who work at Prairie View. That is their career. And that is how they earn their living. Period. Just like at the newspaper, it is my career. It's how I earn my living. I'm sorry, I can't give everything away for free.
Yeah.
So, if the money is there, they can do it. If the money's not there, they can't do it. Mm-hmm. And then you get yesterday. Yesterday, I was able to ask the questions about, can we do something for juveniles? And when I'm asking that question, Governor Laura Kelly is standing there.
Wow.
Okay?
Yeah.
She was here yesterday to tour the BUCC.
The Buck Unit.
Yeah, the Buck Unit. Yeah. She was there to get a look at it because state funding is why that thing exists. There was state funding of it. This is one of the first of its kind in the state. Prairie View said, you know what? We're going to make a transition. We're going to transition away from being a mental hospital, and we're going to transition into immediate care. And I, for one, am very happy they did it. I would love to see them turn around and be able to reopen their hospital, which was part of the stated plan initially. The plan when it came out about a year ago was to reopen the hospital sometime in the next 2 years. But that was going to mean a capital campaign, and it's going to mean some fundraising. Again, money. If the money is there, we can do that.
Yep. And it costs money.
But in that time frame between then and now, in the state, about 100 beds have been added for mental health hospitals. About 100. And so Prairie View is very wisely saying, we need to see if that's going to help and be sufficient before we move forward on something of our own. And again, the money has to be there.
Yeah.
And if that additional 100 helps serve the need, which it will, and does fill the need, which we don't know, then Prairie View opening up their own is not gonna have, the money's not gonna be there.
Well, and a lot of that is largely funded by the government anyway.
Correct.
So it's like they've got to be smart and fiscally responsible and say, look, we've got to maintain, and we can't go out here on a limb doing whatever, making these investments in the hopes that we can twist the government's arm into giving us that money, because that's not the case. So until there is funding set aside for it, we know that's a go, then that's not going to happen. But Chad, I'm running around and I'm seeing these places and seeing these things, and anything that has to do with government spending. I mean, when it comes to like our detention center,
right,
or these areas, the Harvey County Detention Center needs some major upgrades and improvements. There's nothing to really be able to service the needs of anybody that's in a mental health crisis.
Correct.
There's not. It's even a lot of safety issues are there. And I'm not pointing fingers at nobody, but some of the response, not all, some of the response is that, well, it's not like somebody needs to have a 5-star hotel there. It's like, whoa. Okay.
No, but they need to have a door that doesn't fall off the cell.
Or one that opens in the case that they need an emergency to get in there.
I'm not going to be nice to people on this one. Okay? Do the inmates need 5-star accommodations? No, they do not. They're there for a reason. However, we need cells with doors that work.
Or beds that don't
and
fall
that's
off
not
the
about
wall.
the inmates.
Yeah.
That's about the deputies.
Yes. And this is the thing to like, it's really driving me, because as we've talked over this last month and realizing that, a lot of this stems back to government funding, I'm very disappointed in a lot of people's perception when it comes to humane treatment of individuals who are suffering from a mental health crisis.
Yes.
Or even those that find themselves in a situation where they're suffering from addiction, or those two coupled together lead to crime. It always does. It always does. I've said it over and over again. If you address before the crime, the mental health crisis or the mental health situation or the addiction, usually they run parallel to one another, then you're going to see a drastic decrease in crime rates. You just are. You just are. Okay. You just are. And even more so, what drives me up a wall is that, we see some pioneering people, or some people that are pioneering, like DFY. The research is in. You want to know how you treat adult addiction? You try to get them when they're the youth. You try to get them at the youth.
You prevent them from starting in the first place.
And so then when you bring up what you just said about, well, if there is a youth that's having a mental health crisis of any kind, or an addiction of any kind, where are we at when our society's like, well, I'm not going to spend $4 more a month on taxes to be able to provide any kind of a mental health facility or adequate facilities at our detention center for those that are suffering. That's their problem. Well, it becomes my problem real quick. Becomes my problem real fast when, well, my windows are getting busted out of my car, or somebody's breaking into my house, or somebody's stealing all my stuff, or I'm seeing situations where, it's like, I even had somebody that posted recently that I read that said, we have all these drug addicts and we have all of these people with mental health problems and we need to get rid of them all. And it's like, well, that's how about we treat them? How about we treat them? But yet that's not my responsibility. I mean, we've got to figure out where we're at as a society. I mean, you can't just take them out back and put them down. Well, come on now.
And I'm just gonna put it this way. And I'm gonna put this in specific to juveniles. Okay. If we had some place where we could send them for mental health services, emergency mental health services. Okay. We could make use of that and not pay as much as $350 a day for a detention placement.
Yeah. Which is no good on mental health.
When you look at the model of the BUCC, it's 72 hours. Okay? They're either stabilized or hospitalized in 72 hours.
Yeah.
Okay? When you look at the detention model, and like I said, up to 350 a day, and that just depends on where we end up putting a kid. Because
Well, there ain't a whole lot of places for that either.
Hutchinson isn't always available. Sometimes they're full. Sedgwick County doesn't even call us back. So if we end up going to Topeka, that's going to be $350 a day. And the hold is supposed to be 48 hours so that they can go to court. If they're not released from court, they're going right back up there to $350 a day for who knows how long. All right. And then you've got the transport expense as well. I'm just saying we need that 72-hour emergency mental health treatment that is designed to stabilize within that time. We desperately need that. And please do not forget this either. When we talk Prairie View, specifically, they are offering service to 3 or 4 different counties, including Harvey County.
Yeah.
So it's not just us.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, it's not a large percentage.
When we talk juvenile intake, we're talking about 2 different I'm talking about 2 different counties. Okay? And it's the law enforcement of those 2 different counties that we are assisting.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that's the only place that the kids are coming from.
Yeah. That's just our home turf.
Dude, I've had them from Texas.
Yeah.
Sitting in my office.
Well, that's because if they're from there, they come here.
I've had them from Minnesota
that
are sitting in my office. Okay?
As first, okay, so you and I agree 100% on something. Obviously, I hate to take it back to faith here, okay? Because I don't want to invoke that necessarily on everybody listening. But don't we have any love anymore, Chad? I mean, don't we understand that there are people that really are going through some stuff, whether it's something that happened to them that they don't have any control over, or whether or not they are kind of moving into the stage of making their own choices? Where is the compassion, empathy, and love for your fellow human being anymore? And it's like, well, government, even though nobody likes to admit it, is generally there for the purposes of the public good. So then we have to make the decision as policymakers, what's in the best interest of the policy of good.
Are you talking about guaranteeing the general welfare?
I don't think you can guarantee any general welfare necessarily, but
our Constitution does.
Well, okay. Well,
okay. Our Constitution states that we are to provide for the general welfare of the people. I mean, it truly does. Here's why I bring that up. The people that you are talking about that lack the compassion, all of it, so often they will turn around and say, I have a constitutional right to this. I have a constitutional right to this. There's not a constitutional right to that. Guess what? Our Constitution states that our government is to provide for the general welfare of its populace. It's within the first 10 sentences. Okay? For crying out loud. So let's just move on and let's start dealing with the general welfare of this population. Yeah. And I can't be more serious.
Man, oh man, we're getting into some deep policy discussion. I'll tell you that.
We are.
And speaking of moving on, because I know that there'll be people that have something to say about this.
Well, sure they are. Sure they will.
And speaking of kids, okay, on a lighter note, everybody, speaking of the youth in our community and speaking of, the positive things that are happening with the youth in our community, prom happened.
Yeah, prom happened.
I love it. I mean, my son went to prom. His girlfriend went to prom. They had some good pictures going on, But see, this is the thing. This is the truth of the matter. And I think I can tie it in this way and say it was cool to see photos. It was cool to see the kids out and about. It warms my heart, right? That the majority of these youngsters get a chance to have a pretty monumental event happen in their life, and it is important, and it's important to parents and it's important to families. And I'll just call it the normalcy of our society is in a way in which prom is a staple of our youth going to high school and, you know, this type of thing. And it's good. It's almost like a rite of passage, right? It's really cool. I'll say that. Totally positive, totally feel good. But the counter is too of what we just talked about, Chad. And it's that youth just want to live a life where they are housed, where they are clothed, where they are fed, where they have the ability to participate in an education, that they're able to be, you know, the small things, man.
Dude,
the small things. To us, those are big things. To them,
are you trying to force me to be a cranky guy in a corner?
I'm not trying to. It's the weather today. But you catch my heart on it, Chad. I'm just like, come on. I do. You know? I see it. I love it. You know, it's to some people it might be rather vain. I mean, to be honest, folks, I've never went to prom. I never did go to prom ever, not once. But to watch my youngster be able to go through what, you know, some would call a rite of passage and be able to enjoy themselves and to be able to do that and have that experience made my heart feel good.
My high school didn't have a prom. Just saying.
Bah humbug, Chad.
I'm just throwing it out there, right? I mean,
I'm not going to even ask why, Chad.
But here's the thing, and you know, because, you know, at the Newton Kansan shows up and takes pictures of prom entrances every year.
Yeah.
And it's because we feel this obligation. And honestly, that obligation's been forced on us. Okay? I think there was one year where I was like, I am done. I need this Saturday night off. Okay? And so I didn't show up.
Oh, no.
And boy, the phone calls that started coming on Monday.
Yeah.
I mean, we hadn't even published yet.
And they knew you weren't there.
But somehow they figured out we weren't there. And I mean, I was just like, and all through that, there was something that welled up within me. And here it is. Prom, it's for the kids.
Yeah.
That's who it's for. Us adults really don't have anything to do with it. It's not about us. It's about the kids.
Yeah.
That's what it's for.
Yep.
Okay?
Agreed.
And so, yeah, we're going to continue to show up and we're going to continue to take those photos. But, you know, the support that your kids need is not only on prom night. And it's not only during the run up to prom. They need it all the time. So, sure, have your prom. Great. Go have a dance. You know?
Chad.
And in about 2.5 years, probably somewhere in there, you know, my oldest kid is gonna be in the prom cycle. And, you know, am I gonna help him rent a tux? Yes. Am I gonna send him off? Yes. Am I gonna try and give him advice about how to treat the person that he has chosen as his date? Yes, I am. Am I going to have expectations for how he's going to treat that person? Yes, I am. But, you know, we're going to build that over time. We've already started, man. Yeah. I mean, seriously. Yeah. So, you know, yeah, we had prom. Hey, there you go.
And then speaking of the paper, I got a 2-part question. One being that I know that the prom has been covered forever. Okay.
Yeah.
And I wonder how much of that had to do with, well, how much of that could possibly change now, just given the fact that everybody has technology at their fingertips. You know, if you were having pictures put in the paper, then
we're going to continue to go, because there's no substitute for being able to cut that thing out of the paper.
Yeah.
There is none.
Yeah.
And you know, it's what is amazing to me is how often, you know, I'll get that call. I'm not a subscriber, but I really need a copy of.
Yeah.
Okay, well, come down to the office. We'll get you one.
Because my kids might be in it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Or my mom.
Yeah.
Or somebody's obituary. I mean, you can name something, right?
Yeah.
We'll get you one. No problem. And a lot of it too, that strengthens my resolve to make sure that we go to prom. And you know, we're not gonna print every picture in the paper.
Yeah.
You know, I don't remember how many it was, but well over 100 photos ended up on our website.
Okay.
Okay. When you say, well, you know, we put that online. Well, I can't cut that out. I need a copy of the paper. It's just the long and the short of it.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're going to continue.
Yeah.
You know,
Because you guys do a rock star job.
probably till I die.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
Probably till we both die.
so you know, and there's, you know, and that's not the only event that is treated that way.
Yeah.
Right.
Homecoming.
Yeah. And can we talk about something that's really for the kids and has nothing to do with the adults? And there's one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Although many adults have tried to make it about them.
Yes, they have.
I mean, we've even had an odd chance. I mean, you've seen it in different places. This desire to even politicize.
Correct.
Homecoming.
And you know, we went through that very recently here. And it was during, you know, my phone was ringing off the hook. Do you know about this? 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 And my response to every one of those people was, homecoming's about the kids, folks. It's not about us. It's not about you. Homecoming's about the kids. If this is what the kids are doing, so what?
Yeah.
I honestly, I don't care.
They get to pick it.
Okay.
They get to pick who's the homecoming king, queen, or the
that's
homecoming
right.
individuals.
And so I don't care about any adult political agendas. I just do not, because homecoming is about the kids. Graduation, it's about the kids. It's about celebrating the accomplishments of those kids. And that is being said by someone who has literally watched thousands of kids walk across that stage for Newton High School.
Yeah.
Okay? It's about them. That is their day. It is not my day. It is not Lance's day. That is their day. Okay?
And it needs to be that way.
And honestly, it's not even the parents' day.
Yeah.
The parents should be proud of what occurred. They should be proud of that accomplishment.
Yeah.
But it's not the parents' day. It is that kid walking across the stage. It is their day.
Yeah. I concur.
And we celebrate it.
I concur.
We celebrate it. You know, I honestly, I mean, we started talking about prom. I don't know what there is to celebrate about prom.
Oh, come on now, Chad. Don't be a negative Nancy.
I just don't. I don't get it.
You're popping my bubble, Chad. You're giving me a rainy, gloomy kind of day. I was like, you know what? I'm so excited. I got to feel good. And Chad's just like, squeeze that heart. Squeeze it, Lance.
You know, in my house, where, you know, my house, you know, my daughter, my 7th grade daughter, we're already talking about what kind of dress she's going to be wearing to prom. And there's a lot of those dresses that you see that are violating Chad Dad's rules for his daughter.
Hey, just wait. As they get older, it'll get worse.
Oh, I don't.
If nature goes the way it's going, it's just going to be.
It is what. So I don't know, not to be a Debbie Downer, but yeah, we had prom. Great.
So and then I can tie something in. Speaking of the paper that had the prom in. Speaking of, well, I mean. Boy, you wouldn't think it, but animals have showed up again at the forefront of people's minds. And I had an interview with Daniela Rivas, which will be coming out next week, who's the city manager, and she is a wonderful lady, and we are so lucky to have her here in Newton. And then I actually was somebody that saw that the city was going to have goats out on some property that they have as a way to reduce costs, to be able to clear stuff. And I'm like, yes, this is awesome. This is a great idea. This is forward thinking. This is exactly what we need to be doing. I think this is a great idea. I saw other communities do this, and finally Newton's doing it too. And then all of a sudden, well, my bubble was popped, kind of like Chad popped my bubble today already and gave me a gloomy day and a rainy day. But I guess that became an issue for somebody who then wanted to take the letter of the law and whatever that would be through the city ordinance, and had some pushback on the city. and I don't know who that would be or why, but it's probably somebody that was not given what they wanted to get out of the deal, and this ordinance was used against them in some way or another, so they feel. And then what's the deal with the goats, Chad? Come on, how could something so
How many puns
smart,
do you want me to give here?
We need to make a joke out of it. I mean, honestly,
it is
because
a joke.
Because it's like.
But here's the joke. Here's the joke. I'm being straight up honest. Was using goats to do what they wanted to do in the industrial park. Now, it's very critical here when I'm talking. The reason I support this idea so much is its location. This is not a residential area we're talking about. Yeah. And they wanted to use goats to do weed control.
Yeah.
And, way back in the day, I lived on I think it might have been about a 3/4 of an acre, right? That's where our house was at, and directly behind us was an abandoned farm. And the dude who bought that abandoned farm, he could not keep up. He could not keep up with trying to keep things mowed. He absolutely couldn't. The only time period he was able to keep up on his weed control is when he bought a goat, and he put it back there.
And they love weeds.
They do.
Yep.
I didn't like listening to the goat, and it kept me up. It would keep me up at night once in a while. But doggone it, it controlled the weeds. And we were talking about an abandoned farm, so that's obviously a good use. That's a good use for the land is some goats. So that's what we're talking about here, right? We're talking about the city deciding to use some goats on property that it owned, which is within the city limits. And was it a great idea? Yes. Was not consulting with the city legal department and Chris Howell prior to doing this a good idea? No, that was a very bad idea.
I was going to ask you, was this a good idea?
No, this was idea? That was a bad idea.
Bad. But even then, was it bad or
straight up,
what's pointing fingers now? My question is,
But here's the deal. What's good for the goose is good for the gander.
Yeah.
Okay.
Speaking of animals.
Exactly. So if the city is going to tell me you can't have goats in your yard, you can't have geese, you can't own them. If they walk in wild, that's one thing, but you can't have any geese. You can't have ducks. And my daughter, she spotted a duck that had a duckling over at Chisholm Middle School, and she's been begging me to buy a duck. We cannot have a duck. If it's good for me, then the city needs to abide by those same rules.
Okay, so then would okay.
And so honestly, all those people who came out and said, "Hey, this is wrong because of your city code," I'm with them.
Yeah,
I truly am. Was it a good idea to try it? You better believe it. You're talking about being eco-friendly. You're talking about saving us a crap ton of money. You're talking about not burning it off and putting all that smoke in the air that we get from the Flint Hills. Hey, it was a great idea.
Yeah.
And straight up, if you want to do it again, let's change the city code so you can.
Oh, well, then you'll have people mad about that, Chad.
Yeah.
Oh, the city's changing the code to have goats come out and clean up weeds on industrial property, and that's just not good. They're just changing their own rules to suit themselves, Chad.
They can change that city code so that it does not, within that city code are the provisions for keeping horses in the city limits. Don't even look at me and say that the city cannot make provisions for the keeping of goats in the city limits.
But what about pigs, Chad?
If they wanted to do that, they could do that, and I'll move.
We're going to get so deep into mire, as we could call it today.
I moved away from 10,000 hogs. I don't want to live around them anymore, okay? That's the deal. But they can do that. It is within their power, within their purview, and they can do it, and they can do it in a way that's fair.
Yeah.
There's no two ways around it. Yeah. But in order for you to wrap your head around it, there are folks that are going to have to give up a little bit of this self-righteousness that they have.
Yeah.
And straight up. So if the city wants to, they can do it. Again, I'm going to point this out again. Go read it. There is a provision for the keeping of horses within the city limits.
You mean that's live transportation though, Chad? You could technically ride a pig too, I guess.
It's livestock.
Mm-hmm. But you don't eat horses, do you?
Well, not here, but there are places that occurs.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Seriously?
We're getting so I love it.
But so that's the deal with the goats
this week, Chad.
That's the deal with the goats. And I would state quite emphatically here that the blueprint for the keeping of goats within the city limits by the city, it's already in the ordinance, because we have provisions for much larger livestock, and that is called horses. If you go back and look, if you look at it, there's a minimum of amount of land that must be owned for someone to turn horses out onto that ground.
And nowadays, the way our city is, there's probably few places that would allow for that type of.
How many residents of this city, within the city, own 3, 4, 5 acres?
Don't give me the line, but I'm going to guess maybe like a few. There's got to be a situation where this is the case, but yeah,
very, very, very few.
I mean, that's a lot.
Okay.
If people don't know how much an acre is, 3 or 4 of them is quite a bit. I mean, that's you're not throwing a rock and hitting your neighbor's house.
Very, very few people in this city even own an acre.
Yeah.
Or even an half acre.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it used to be that was the case. Like my house was built in 1888, and interestingly enough, well, from all the ages of the houses around my house, as well as knowing that during that time, I mean, it was horse and buggy all the way.
Yep.
That even then, I mean, you could tell how far away the houses that were built in the same time frame were. Houses used to be pretty spread out, and I even believe that in my backyard, as I've tried to do a garden, that there's remnants of what might have been or used to be facilities for the horse and buggy. And then it's really interesting. I mean, I love history. I'm there. It makes for an interesting time once you start going under the ground a little bit, because, well, they used to just bury everything in your yard. There wasn't like any rules on, you got to haul that to the dump. It was, well, you just dig a hole and you start burying the stuff, really. I mean, not to say that was the best
and
way
if
to
your
do it,
house was built back then, there was a privy somewhere.
Yeah. Oh, it's interesting.
There's all kinds of
I can
stuff
tell
that
where the
ended up in
outhouse
those.
used to be.
Yep.
You
need to dig that up.
Well, no. There's no outhouse there now. But
you need to dig it up.
For what reason?
You're going to find all kinds of stuff down there.
Well, what's cooler yet is
You'll find like old bottles and who knows what.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm finding all kinds of stuff all the time. Every time I just get a rototiller out and try to go down a few inches.
I did a story probably 15 years ago about a guy that's what he collects old bottles and turn of the century stuff, and he goes and digs up old outhouses. That's what he does. That's how he finds most of his stuff.
Well, that's on a building I'm fixing to tear down on my property, so maybe I just need to say, hey, you can dig it up if you want, and I don't have to pay to get it removed. Yeah. Makes sense. But it's cool. Another thing that's really interesting about my house is you can tell when they built a kitchen onto it.
Yep.
And underneath, when you get into the crawl space, of course, it's filled up now and everything to code and all that stuff. But you can tell where there was a remnants of a cistern. So just to know that, my house, it's just, I love history. I love to repurpose things if possible. For all of you that think that, I'm this person that thinks we always need to build new and not repurpose. I personally am repurposing a house from 1888. But you get underneath the stuff, and it's so cool because what they did was they literally just pulled up a water tank. they filled up your cistern, and then it happens to be right underneath where the sink and all of the water facilities were in the home, and they would just sit right there in their sink, and they would pump the water up into the sink, and it's like, wow, this is just straight out of, 1888, Chad.
Well, yeah. Yeah. And those cisterns, yeah, I mean, I don't know when they quit using those now.
Probably 1900s. Whenever we know what they did. Whenever the city decided that they were going to mandate, the city mandate public utilities.
Sure.
And then told you, yeah, you're not going to do that anymore.
Sure. So when my parents first moved to Newton, they bought a house on Harrison Street. Okay, right around the corner from the Workentine house. And it was built in the 19s. It wasn't built in the 18s.
Yeah.
Okay. The cisterns were right by the driveway.
Yeah.
They're still there.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's hard to know when that usage quit.
Yeah.
But
probably when we got electricity flowing.
Well, maybe
pumping everything.
Maybe. And it's interesting how things change over time.
Yeah.
Right. So we started on this, honestly, about land use.
Yeah.
Okay. So when your house was built, it was built on probably a couple of acres. But those pieces have been sold off when they were no longer needed.
Yeah.
So when that house was built, originally, probably could apply the 2024 Animal Code and have horses there.
Maybe I need to get some
but
horses.
Not anymore.
Oh, dang. Okay.
Because the property has been split out and split out and split out and split out. Same could be said for Workentine House.
What if I was to get a pig or a goat for the purposes of transportation?
That is not going to happen, sir. Okay?
That's a bad joke.
Yeah, that was a very bad joke. Anybody bigger than my youngest son probably can't ride a goat. Because it's going to hurt the goat.
I was talking about taming the goat. I had a real good vision there. If I could get a little buggy and I could have a goat attached to the front of it, and I could sit in the buggy and I could have the goat take me where I needed it to go.
No. Now, if you wanted to try and pursue a goat for weed control on your property, I would say the bottom line, you probably don't have the minimum enough property that would be realistic.
So I got to go mow.
Yeah. I'll send my boy over on Saturday afternoon.
If he's looking to mow some grass, I might have some grass for him to mow.
He's got my neighbor and he's got my father right now. So
yeah. I'm serious. I might be in the market for somebody to mow my grass this year, Chad.
Yeah. Well,
I might. At least in my backyard, anyway.
Yeah. You can put the money to a new mower. You can put the money to somebody else to do it.
Yeah. So. A young entrepreneurial youth who's looking to make a little bit of money. There's nothing wrong with that. Good work ethic, the whole deal. Plus, it's a lot better than me having to go out there when it's 100 degrees outside and get through it. So, yeah. Okay, so we got some things coming up. We're not necessarily coming to the end of the program, but I wanted to make sure that we got some things covered. I had some stuff that people sent me to make sure that we did a shout out.
Sure.
I just want to remind everybody that the Newton Car Show is coming up May 4th.
Yep.
That's pretty fast, okay?
Yep.
If you haven't been, it's a pretty cool event. We're talking about old stuff here, right? I mean, we're not going to get a car from the 1880s and set out there, but we can get ones from like 20s.
Well, you can get cars from all eras.
Like even it's a wonderful thing. The vendors arrive on May 4th at 6 a.m. The cars can arrive at 7 a.m. Registration begins at 8, and the car show is from 8 to 4. So if you haven't been, they pretty much block off several blocks of Main Street, which is nice because we have an old school style Main Street, and there's just cars lined up everywhere, and they have all kinds of awards and stuff that can be done there. So remember, May 4th, 8 to 4, for anybody that's just wanting to go and see. You don't have to pay to go see it. You can just go down there. It's free to the public, right? And that's actually a real nice place to say hi to people. Every time I go down there, we have a small enough community. You're able to talk to people that you know. You're going to see somebody that you know. You're going to have a good time. Not only that, but once again, I just wanted to say, if you got a car, I think they'll take about any car. I don't think they're going to say, no, Lance, you have a 2017 Jeep Renegade. We're not going to allow you to put it in the thing, And they take donations and stuff like that, because the truth of the matter is the Newton Car Show is a fundraiser.
Yes, it is.
That's really all it is. It's a fundraiser. And new this year, the Community Chaplain Response Team, also known as CCRT, is the ones that are the hosting it. Okay, so that's pretty interesting. That's actually really neat that they're taking that on. The Newton Car Show's been around for a minute. I know that.
Yes,
and then
it
even
has.
on top of that, this happens on a Saturday, but they have Friday night cruise. So you can go out on Friday night, literally. I mean, it's a public sidewalk. You can go put your chair out there or sit on a bench, and you can just watch all the cars cruise back and forth on Friday night. I don't know when it starts. I want to say it starts shortly after 6.
Cars are going to start. Cars are supposed to start gathering at 6 o'clock out at Newton High School.
Okay, so then
Yeah,
and then they come down 12th.
Yep,
they
they'll
go down
come down
Main.
12th, and then they'll go down Main, and I think they go to about as far as the South Sonic is what they.
And then turn around in South Sonic and come back.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it is cool. It is very cool. And the North Dillon's parking lot is going to be really, really full of people who are wanting to sit down and watch.
Gearheads.
Yep. So just be advised that you might want to look somewhere else to find your spot.
Yeah.
To sit and watch, because that place is always jammed.
Well, and I wanted to get this right too, so I got this. So forgive me for reading this off, but on Friday night between 6 and 7:30, the Lions Club, when everybody's doing Cruise Main on Friday night, has a cruise for food that they do. Anybody can come at that time between 6 and 7:30, and they just collect food and hygiene items for Safe Hope. So really, that's a great cause. You can go to the Old Dillon's if nobody doesn't know where that's at. It's right across the street from the old mill. It's right up against the train tracks. There'd be just on the south side of the train tracks. There's a open parking lot there, and literally you can just pull in. You can drop stuff off. You're going to see some Lions doing amazing things. I love the Lions Club a lot, and all that they do to benefit our community and those in need. It's great. It's something that and they're not looking for a lot. I mean, every bit counts, man.
Yes,
I mean,
it does.
even if you don't, you don't want to go to Dillon's and buy a case of corn or a case of green beans or a case of peaches or whatever you could do, non-perishable items is what they're looking for. Then you can just drop off a 20. I mean, you can drop off a 10. And what this does is this goes to help those who are less fortunate, and it goes to Safe Hope. So if you're wondering who it goes to Safe Hope. So swing by and help serve your community, help the Lions serve the community by just providing a can, providing a dollar, anything you can to be able to help those who are less fortunate and are in need of some real support. And then lastly, Chad, while I'm rolling here, okay? For many, many, many years now, the Freemason Lodge, which is located more or less on the corner of Broadway and Main. It's the big building. It's been there forever. You can't miss it. You'll even see some youngsters, I'm sure, again, with some signs that they're walking around that said you can come and you can enjoy some pancakes and some sausage. Okay, so the Newton Freemason Lodge does their pancake and sausage their pancake and sausage meal that they offer to the public. Remember, all donations or all proceeds, if you want to look at that, gets turned around. They don't make any money off of it. It just goes to scholarships or donations or another way to just service the community. So it's more, I mean, go to the car show. Anywhere from 8 to noon, I believe, is what it is. You can, 8 to noon. You can get pancake sausage. Adults are $8 and children $4 and any under 12. Yeah, that's what it is. Adults are $8 and $4 for children under 12. So You get breakfast. I mean, this is a weekend that's coming up, the 3rd and 4th of May. It's going to be great. You can watch cars cruise. You can sit and enjoy that, and then the next day you can go, or that night you can donate some food to a civic organization that helps those in need. The next day you can go out and you can for free go walk around and look at all these cars and stuff. Get a real up close look at it. You might even be able to vote on something. I don't know as far as what's the best car, this car, that car, but they give out all kinds of awards.
Yeah, there's literally hundreds
of awards.
Yeah.
And so then all that money then goes donated out. And then even with the Freemason Lodge, when you go up there and you get some pancakes and sausage or whatever's on their items or agenda that you can be able to eat, that's going to donate back to those in the community. So it is a big weekend for our community. And I don't know if you do it, Chad, but you got to get out and do it, Chad.
What, go to the car show?
All the above. Make it a Friday night. Make it a donate some food night. Then Saturday, turn around and go get some breakfast and go walk around when it's nice and cool and just get to see all that there is to offer.
Now that our little kid track seasons are over, we'll be hitting the car show pretty much every year again. Yeah. But during that period of our lives, there was always a track meet on that Saturday. We're entering into another one of those kind of busy periods, right? Because we got graduation coming at the end of May.
Yeah.
And this is a period where people try to get stuff done, right? Example, April 26th, is that a Friday? If I remember correctly, am I remembering that right?
Man, oh man, you're getting.
I better check.
April
I gotta check my calendar.
Let's see who's fast with our calendars.
Yep,
Shad.
April 26th.
You're faster.
April 26th will be the first sort of outdoor festival of the season. It's coming back. It's been gone for a little bit. Apple Blossom Festival over at Presbyterian Manor.
Nice.
Again, that's a fundraiser deal.
Yeah.
And then turn around the next day is the Newton Citywide Garage Sale. Mm-hmm. That entire weekend is Flora, Kansas over at the Arboretum. You see how this is working?
Yes.
Right? And then you go the next week, you've got Friday night, Saturday. You got all kinds of stuff going on, and we're going to be in that mode now for a little while.
Yep. Good weather brings fun times. The Sand Creek Summer Days Festival's coming up. I'm sure we'll get somebody out here
July.
to talk to them.
Yeah, that'll be July.
Yeah.
And former county commissioner Chip Westfall will be the Sand Creek Charlie this year.
Yeah, I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
Let's send a shout out to Chip, man. I tell you what, Randy too. Don, anybody that signs up to serve the community does so with little benefit to themselves. City commissioners, even less benefit. School board members, even less benefit to themselves. These people sign up to serve, and they do the best that they possibly can. They really do the best they can. I would say 9 times out of 10, there's no personal agenda that takes place. There's no kickbacks that they get. We've joked oftentimes about how, if you sign up to be a city commissioner, you get free water. And I mean, it's ridiculous, some of the stuff that people try to throw on these people's back. And the truth of the matter is that even though, Chip didn't make all the decisions that I personally would have made, or that Randy didn't make all the decisions that I personally wanted them to make, or that Don or Becky even, and it's like, look, there's got to be a point in time in which we say, we are electing these people because they have good moral character and clarity. And no, I'm not going to agree with them all the time, but I didn't vote for them so that way they would make every political decision I wanted them to, or every policy decision I wanted them to. It just literally comes down to, I believe that I'm electing somebody who loves my community, who has good character, who is a moral mind, and that they're qualified to do the job. They have the education to do the job. They're going to learn to do the job, whatever that might entail. And that they're going to do so with a good heart, with the community's best interest in mind, not a small fraction of people.
Okay.
Love you, Chad. I love you, Chad. That was my monologue, my man.
That's your monologue.
I'm telling you.
I'd like to see some more names on the ballot. The filing deadline is June 3rd, and I'd like to see some more names on the ballot. And I'm not going to point my finger at any individual, but I have had some conversations with with some folks within the Harvey County Democratic Party, and the conversation has just been, you guys have no one.
There's got to be somebody, Chad.
Somebody please step up and run. I don't care if they win. I don't care if they lose. I don't care if you provide me somebody that I want to vote for or not. Democracy. We keep hearing this statement, and it's the one that's constantly tied to the failure of media, and it is democracy dies in darkness. And there's truth to that. But you know where democracy really dies? When there's lack of choice.
Yeah.
We need choices. And, right now, and again, I'm not pointing fingers, and I'm not saying anybody's doing a bad job. But when you take a look at it, we got a primary coming up on August 25th. And right now, we have 2 contested primaries. And they're both in the Republican Party. And both of them are for county commission positions. Those are not the only positions that are going to be on the ballot, folks.
Yeah.
Okay? We got, in our county, we got 2 state representatives, a state senator. We've got the 2 county commission seats. We got sheriff, clerk, treasurer, county attorney.
Yeah.
And out of all of that, right now, we're going to have 2 contested primaries. And out of all of that, right now, the way it stands, those things will be decided in the primary.
Yeah. And you said August 25th, but you meant to say August 6th.
For the primary,
Yeah.
I'll double check my dates.
Right.
I know it's August.
Yes.
And I know that the filing deadline is the 3rd of June.
Yeah.
And we don't even have hardly any precinct people filed yet.
I know that's another. Is
so
it
it's just
apathy?
like-
Is it just apathy? Is it because you can't tell me? I'm watching social media. I keep my eyes and ears wide open. Doesn't seem like everybody's absolutely happy with the way things are going. So do they not realize that part of being in the process is having people run for office, so there is a choice between candidates?
I don't know.
Win, lose, or draw.
I mean, if you win, you've got the commitment. I mean, and I think that scares some people, especially when you're talking county commission, because right now that thing meets every Tuesday.
Yeah.
With just a few exceptions throughout the year. Okay, when the months where there's 5 Tuesdays, they'll take one off.
Well, and if you think that should change, then maybe you could run and get elected and then try to change that.
Right.
Or
so,
maybe,
but there's that. There's that. You city commission. We talk. There's not any. That's not on the ballots this time around. But with city commission, it meets 2 Tuesday nights a month.
Yeah.
Okay, and those are not the only hours that you're going to put into the job. Period. Okay. Same with county commission. Those are not the only hours that you're going to put into the job. It's not just the meeting hours. Yeah. You're going to have an assigned group of committees that you're going to be meeting with as well. Yep. So it is a time commitment. Board of Education, they've been a little more fickle over the last couple of months, but usually we're talking about 2 Monday night meetings a month. Sometimes there's some special meetings thrown in. And then, you've got committees, and I mean, there is a time. I think that scares some people. I really do. Well, I mean, I know one person that quite honestly would be a heck of a county commissioner that won't do it just because they don't want to go to a meeting every week.
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah.
I get it. But we need some names on the ballots. Just straight up. No offense, Lance.
No, none taken.
Because you're on that ballot, but there needs to be some choices, and I don't know who's going to be successful in the primary, but it is very frustrating for me
as a voter
to know that so many of these races are going to be decided in the primary.
Yeah,
because I'm going to walk into the booth in November, and those are the only names that are going to be there.
Yeah.
And it's disappointing.
Yeah. Well, and you asked, how do you hold people accountable if there's not somebody running? Okay, Chad, we're at the end of the program. Last word. Or was that your last word?
Yeah, we can make that the last word. Or
Okay.
no, here's the last word. We're gonna have a citywide garage sale. Call my folks in the office, 316-283-1500, and get in on it.
Yeah.
You don't have to take out a big ad. Just let us know your address and get in on that thing. And I've been pushing my wife for us to get on it because we got to get that basement emptied. I mean, seriously, what are we holding on to all this crap for? And to you too, what are you holding on to all that crap for? Sell it to somebody, make some money, and get in on the citywide garage sale.
One man's trash, another man's treasure.
That is correct.
Chad had the last word. We'll see you next week, everybody.